Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today our stream completely include its main use for maybe last months. Of course, May, it's consensus 2018. This event had attended on May, this date, and we are talking about some conclusions, some interesting news, some events in this. I think maybe main event in 2018, because a lot of statistically information we further this file, or maybe after in 10 minutes. It's very interesting statistic when this event head on. It's we can see about this chart. Always market grew, and but this year we have some troubles with this statistic information. So first of all, guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. To do this, you should click subscribe to the video below, and don't forget, click the bell, and you'll always be aware of new streams and videos. So consensus 2018, or why the largest industry event didn't lead to a consensus on the cryptocurrency market. So about this news. So last week in New York, yes, here week before, one of the largest and most significant events of this year took place in the blockchain industry, the conference Consensus 2018, which brought together the most influential representatives of the cryptocurrency community, regulators, and entrepreneurs from around the world. As part of the event, many block startups concluded the most important agreements, presented their developments, and of course told about plans for the future. It wasn't without curious moments like Dami Lamborghini. I hope you read about this Bankers products and Snoop Dogg performance, which only made the conference even more discussed. So on the consensus came the so-called Bitcoin maximalists and developers of various altcoins. In the framework of the panel discussion, dozens of debates took place as the event gathers an extremely diverse audience whose representatives agree only on the one thing. The technology of the distributed registry is already changing the world. The blockchain broke into finance, business management, and even the public sector. It's worth emphasizing that this year the conference set a new attended record. Boris Silber said about this, about 8,500 guests, which undoubtedly indicates a growing interest in the innovation industry. So, nevertheless, it's impossible not to notice that the consensus was missing on of the leading figure in the industry, the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin. At the end of last month, he announced a boycott of the event in protest against journalist activities on the publication CoinDesk, which in his opinion violated a number of important standards. His example was followed by the co-founder of Ethereum and the creator of the competitive platform Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, who, like Buterin, counted 3,000 per ticket, $3,000 per ticket for an unreasonable high price. Very interesting statement. 3,000, too much for these guys. So he noted that the conference model is distorted and that the Meetup and YouTube conference are much more effective. So in the another that is response to the tweet of professional Cornell University and the creator of the Bitcoin NG protocol, Emin Seller, about the feasibility of such a large-scale conference. Turing wrote that his team should hold the EDCON event monthly in different countries. Ganserer himself stressed that he liked the idea of the founder of Ethereum and emphasized the need to combine such events with academic workshops. While it's not clear how serious is Turing's intention to implement what has been said, it can be assumed that the new format of EDCON conference can seriously compete with consensus from CoinDesk, despite the established image of the biggest event of the year. So, in addition to all this is situated around the event and the immediate events that took place at the conference, most so-called retail investors waited for consensus for one reason: the potential growth of a digital currency. So on the eve of the event, the well-known optimistic Bitcoin and co-founder or Footstar Global Advisors Tom Lee, I hope you remember this man. I think a few times I talked about this financial analyst in the previous lesson. So return to our charts. He said that holding the conference would have a positive effect on the dynamics of the cryptocurrency market. This assumption he made on the basis of the experience of previous years. He stressed that in the past, cryptocurrencies showed growth in the range between 10% and 70% after the consensus, and the event could bring Bitcoin to a mark of $15,000. However, the market behaved quite the opposite way, which caused disappointment of the many retail investors and the bewilderment of Tom Lee himself. So the main reason why his expect forecast wasn't justified in the regulation uncertainty, he believes. Nevertheless, the original forecast of Lee and other analysts in the context of the rally after the consensus is a clear example of the Turkey problem. And their exculpatory arguments are retrospective and don't bear any semantic value. For instance, the butcher fattens the turkey before Thanksgiving, with every day of feeding the turkey itself is becoming increasingly convenient that the butcher will continue to look after her. From the standpoint of a turkey, every new day only confirms the fact and butchers like turkeys, but on the 101st day, they suddenly cut off her head. So her problem is that she builds prediction based on past events while not knowing about Thanksgiving Day. Very nice example, I think. So the same rule works with price forecast in the run-up to Consensus 2018, which were based on the experience of previous years without taking into account other factors. Moreover, most of the so-called analysts call the predicted price of Bitcoin losses cold from the selling. This means because they know that by the end of the year, hardly anyone will remember that they were wrong, which will allow them to make similar forecasts in the next year. So as a result, Thomas Lee's lack of growth is disappointing, but in general, in his opinion, the cryptocurrency became stronger. What exactly was meant by stronger is not entirely clear, but it was necessary for him to comment on the situation, since not all have forgotten about the forecast. So, CoinDesk published a survey of market sentiments by interviewing participants in the cryptocurrency communities, and 79% of respondents are confident that the bear market is a short-term phenomenon. 86% of respondents stress that the cause of the market collapse is a natural correction after speculation in late 2017. And 62% added that the policy of regulators had a negative impact on the dynamics. It's worth emphasizing that most retail investors are confident of breaking through the $10,000 and 11,700 marks and the subsequent update of price heights in the future, just because the price of Bitcoin has already reached such values that again put them in the position of a turkey that doesn't know about Thanksgiving. And the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco is confident that it was the Bitcoin futures that triggered the collapse, as short rates have significantly exceeded the number of longs. So in CoinDesk noted that the hashtag of Bitcoin network in the first quarter of 2018 increased by 47%. In their opinion, the miners count on a long-term perspective, unlike pessimists in the future market. In addition, transaction fees have significantly decreased not only in the network of the first cryptocurrency, but also in many altcoins. Optimists associated this with the active implementation of offline solution, its main Lightning Network and batching. And pessimists emphasize that low commission indicate a drop is in demand. Separately, the publication highlighted the tax issue, nothing that for most respondents, both in the United States and other countries, it was generally difficult to determine what kind of tax they should pay. But in the United States, in general, cryptocurrency investors paid 20% more than in other countries. So, representatives of CoinDesk are confident that this is an extremely negative indicator for the United States, since such a tax policy restricts the development of the industry and speaks of a lack of understanding by regulation of the legal status of a new class of assets in general. ICO Telegram helps the industry of primary coin offerings stay in tune. So, in the first quarter of the year, the projects collected 6.3 billion, while 25% of the total amounted to only Ton block platform collection is to closed pre-sales. So the number of ICO projects has significantly decreased. However, on average, each attracted almost twice as much as in the campaign of December 2017. So, in the worst aiding, the 40% of respondents took part in financing such startups in the first quarter. In the fourth quarter of last year, this figure was only 30%. And nevertheless, one doesn't need to be genius to notice how the ICO sector has evolved, increased attention from the ubiquitous United States Securities and Exchange Commission, and regulators around the world to the status of tokens forces the project to sell so-called SAFT agreements and conduct closed rounds of funding for credited inventors. Pavel Durov demonstrated that in order to avoid problems with the law, projects want to know their investment in person and to be able to filter out those who want to invest. This indicates that the concept of crowdfunding in the context of financing cryptocurrency projects is experiencing a kind of depression. In addition, such up-and-coming giants of the industry as Robinhood, Circle, and Binance prefer venture financing. So, during the consensus 2018, co-founder of RSK Labs, Gabriel Kerman, said the every 10th Bitcoin miner already supposed the first side decision for smart contracts in the network of the cryptocurrency. And many also associated the growth of the Bitcoin hash with the confidence of the miners in the bright future, but this doesn't say anything about the battles in the world of manufacturers of mining equipment and ITS secrets. On the evening of the consensus conference, the founder of the SIA project and the head of the manufacturers of equipment for the production of cryptocurrency, Obelisk, David Warwick, talked about behind the scenes games in this sector that have a huge impact on the entire industry. Bitmain sold 8.3 miners for $100 million, knowing at the same time that buyers won't be able to repeal the invested money, even with free electricity, said Warwick. After the implementation of the first statement of A3 devices and social network, videos appeared in which people talk about fabulous dairy profits, which led to the struggling success of the second installment, which was the main one, he said. So without a consensus in the market, on balance, I think, and returning to the question of why the consensus on the market wasn't reached during the conference, and the Bitcoin course was on the brink of a return on the global downstream. In the worst emphasis that there was nothing fundamental at the event despite the abundance of events. So, as CIO of Block Tower Capital hedge fund, Ari Pell noted, the developers make up only 5% of the total number of participants. They, in his opinion, are building the future and deserve more recognition than other members of the community. So in the other words, the consensus is a kind of social event, the visit of which is simply a prestige for many and not an opportunity to improve the industry. So some statements could locally push the course of certain altcoins, but in general, consensus didn't bring a fundamental positive effects associated with the progress of distributed registry technology or with new breakthroughs in solving the problem of scaling public lockers. Growth forecasts were based on an incorrect belief in the value of statistics from previous years, which put many retail investors in a tricky position. So moreover, such gains as Goldman Sachs and Intercontinental Exchange came to the market, which already speaks about the structural change of the situation and about the cardinal difference with the past years. When most of the retail investors make the mistake of a turkey, it's silly to expect that big wolves won't take advantage of this. So using the hope of people based on incorrect forecasts, they will always put against the market because they can and want to earn as much as others. This is the big players and the centralization of the mining business hours and given days for all turkeys who expect the really only on the ground that such rallies were in the past. And in addition, I think it's worth considering that we don't see the full picture and are forced to make decisions in conditions of limited awareness. So consensus 2018 ended and Bitcoin price goes down. As you remember, 1 week ago, I said if we go near 8,000, I think we very quickly reach 7,000 in the moment, in the middle of this price. But if we if we see daily chart, we can see, I think it's more than downtrend than uptrend in this situation. So today is, I think, a very interesting picture because we can see BTC minus nil at the moment and XRP, Ethereum, I think nil too, Litecoin, EOS, but it's a move after the breakdown. BCH, XMR, no, the RRP. So most cryptocurrency, most altcoins are in a positive. Very interesting. So but Bitcoin dominance grows after our previous meeting, 38.5% at the moment. So what are the gainers? OX price $1.41. ZRX. So what about daily chart? So not bad, I think. I think we had some news about this point. We have volume spike, and now if you go higher than $8.60, next important resistance it's $1.76 and of course $2. Interesting, very interesting. ZRX. Bitcoin Private, I think you remember a few days ago we had red candles. I think it's some pullback. EOS is 10%, but we talked about this and I look at the market capitalization. Eternity. It's not interesting. So on the red side, Skycoin, Decred -6, and Zcash -4. But All in all, we have little downtrend, so it, I think we're on the wrong track. If you ask me about point entry for the long, I think we have to wait maybe some news, some new supports, because buying in this situation is very risky, in my opinion. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. To do this, you should click subscribe to the below the video, and don't forget, click the below and you click the bell, and you always be aware of new streams and videos. So guys, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I see you next week. Great weekends. Bye bye.